I like Carly Fiorina. I
Well,
like Ben Carson.
Carly Fiorina was on TV last night dumping all over Ben Carson. And you got to be very careful there, Barb. You got to be very. I'm kind of out of time here. I don't mean to be provocative like that. I got to go. But the question: Ben Carson's in a lot of trouble now because he's saying he would not advocate a Muslim being president.
I think that's wrong. You know, it says in our Constitution that religion cannot be a test for office. I actually believe that people of faith make better leaders, whether they're Christians, whether it's a person of Christian faith or Jewish faith or Muslim faith or other faiths. I think faith gives us humility and empathy and optimism, and I think those are important things.
So you would be fine with that?
Yes, I would be fine with that.
Yeah, and
I know she's talking about separation of church and state, but it seems to me that Ben Carson's right on this. Hey, look, if you have a religious belief that makes the Constitution secondary or even third-rate status to your religious beliefs, sorry, bud, you're not wanted. That's that. If nobody, the oath of office is to defend and protect the Constitution, not to subordinate it.
Right, and Sharia law would subordinate the Constitution.
Subordinate it? It'd be lucky if it got away with just being subordinated. It'd be lucky if it still existed in the National Archives. Are you aware of what the allegation is against her at Lucent?
I don't know. Could it be any worse than what politicians have done to America?
Well, you tell me. I'll tell you what it is.
Okay.
There was a practice that evolved in that particular area of the tech world. Mm-hmm. They were laying. This is back in the days of WorldCom. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Global Crossing. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you know what? Global Crossing is Gary Winnick, who was a Clinton buddy, who ran the company in the ground and walked away with $100-some-odd million for it because of his donations to the Democrat Party. He's got a $65 million house overlooking the Bel Air Country Club, and I have to look at the damn thing every time I go out there and play. Okay. I think that Winnick's inside the damn thing. It ticks me off. It shouldn't, but it does. And so you had WorldCom, those guys.
Right.
Well, they were laying fiber optic cable all over the country in preparation for massive economic growth, massive internet growth, much more growth than was indicated. And of course, the dot-com bubble came along and blew up. What happened was Lucent, under Fiorina,
right.
She was, and they're not the only company. They in order to sell the products and services they had, they started loaning customers the money to buy the products.
Yeah.
Well, that's not really selling anything. That's padding the bottom line. That is exactly what happened in the subprime mortgage prices. You have customers that cannot afford a mortgage, so you give them the money anyway. You pad your bottom line if you're the lending institution, and then you sell that debt to some unsuspecting schlub who thinks he's got a steady income stream coming. Well, according to this magazine story, that's exactly what happened, and Lucent, on paper, looked great, but the stock price plummeted because of all of this. And it was said to have been one of the biggest managerial blunders. And Trump referred to this in the debate, but he didn't refer to the specifics. He said, if you think she was bad at Hewlett-Packard, you should look into what happened at Lucent. And this is what he was talking about.
Okay. So what was she, the CEO or what?
She was CEO of Lucent, yeah.
Okay. But, I mean, don't
before
the CEO
HP
just act at the behest of the board of directors? I mean, she's not completely culpable for it, is she? I mean, doesn't.
Well, but no, but she was a CEO. They started listing this loaned money as profit,
as revenue.
Yeah, as profit revenue. That they were loaning money. In other words, their customers were not interested in buying they had over-manufactured. They had a glut of supply.
Okay,
so they started loaning the money to customers to buy it, right. And they padded the sales figures and then reported that loan money.
Okay.
As profit.
So is that illegal?
Well,
unethical, possibly.
I don't want to label it. I'm not of that world.
Okay.
But it doesn't sound. All I know, what I try to apply to things like this. What would happen to me if I did it? And it was found out about. That's how I think of things like this.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
What if every advertiser in this program was being given the money by us to buy the commercials, and we were reporting massive profits if we were publicly traded, which we're not? But that's essentially what was going on. It's exactly what happened in the subprime crisis.
I don't know. I'm sure that there's somebody out there right now that's yelling at the radio saying, what about this and what about that? I can't think of anything right now, but it sounds like the way they run the government with their budget and everything.
Well, in that case, we may be talking about perfect qualifications, too. So you just never know. By the way, there is a name for that practice of loaning money to your customers so that they can buy your product. It's called vendor financing. And Carly Fiorina, Lucent said in its filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, they had no choice because all of their competitors were doing that. And that's the only way they could stay viable. I mean, their competitors were out doing this kind of stuff, so we had no choice. We're talking about big sums of money here. From the Fortune magazine piece, in an SEC document filed just after Fiorina's departure from Lucent, the company revealed that it had $7 billion in loan commitments to customers, many of them financially unstable startups. They essentially were giving, they call this stuff loans, but if it's not paid back, what are you doing? They were giving money away and calling it profit. They were giving money away to create the illusion of sales. And they were, and when that was discovered, that's when the stock price naturally plummeted. That's not a solid foundation. And so it was loaned money, but it was I'll tell you what it sounds a little bit like is Obama and Solyndra.